I had this idealist vision in my head that I was like, this is what Europe's going to be. It's going to solve all my problems. Maybe Asia just wasn't for me. When I got there, I was like, oh my God, it's not Thailand. And all I could think about was Bangkok.
Meet MICHAELA, who left America after realizing the life she was expected to live wasn't the one she actually wanted. From South Korea to Spain to Thailand, she shares how living abroad changed her and why Thailand ultimately felt like home. I'm Tyler, showing what life abroad is really like straight from those living it around the world. Come along.
I always knew I wanted to live abroad. That was like one thing that was clear for me, like since I was a kid. Growing up in America, you don't exactly get pushed to leave America because it's very much like you say here, it's the greatest country in the world. Why would you want to leave? And I was like, even when I was like 8 years old, I was like, I don't think that's true. Like little 8-year-old me. I grew up around an international community in Northern Virginia. So it was very much like, I was very interested. Honestly, I had so many people doubting that I could actually like go live in another country, live in a place where English is not like the main language. And I said, I want to prove everybody wrong. That was kind of my goal to begin with. But then I discovered teaching English, which is the route that most people take. And so after I worked in the cruise ship, I quit that job, had the money saved up. So ended up in South Korea, 2019. That's when I left the US and knew nothing about Korea, couldn't speak the language, knew nothing about the culture. So then ended up in Korea, stayed there all throughout COVID because I couldn't go back to America. I just chose to stay there out of necessity. But I mean, nevertheless, I'm still like, privilege that I got to stay there because I got to travel all throughout the country and all that stuff. After Korea, I was done with it in 2022. So I interviewed for a job in Thailand, and that's pretty much how it happened. What's kind of more so interesting is that I've only been back in Bangkok for 6 months. I actually left for like a year. Because of like the teaching rules in Thailand, I was told that, you either get a master's degree, Thai teaching license, or you leave. So then I was like, I need to get a master's degree. I'm not doing it in the US. It's so expensive. So I found a master's degree in Spain. And I had kind of this lifelong dream of moving to Spain and like living there. I got there and I think it took me like 3 months to realize this is not for me at all. I was like, nope, I need to go back to Thailand. It was like literal depression being gone from here for almost a year.
Yeah, so why Korea and Spain? Why did they just not mesh with you?
Korea, it's hard to live there because obviously in Thailand it's very sabay, like chill out, everybody's relaxed. And in Korea it's just super intense, and culturally it was hard to live there. Work culture wise, the mindset and everything, I just couldn't mesh with it. Spain, I don't know. I guess for me it was like I had this idealist vision in my head that I was like, this is what Europe's going to be. It's going to solve all my problems. Maybe Asia just wasn't for me. When I got there, I was like, oh my God, it's not Thailand. And all I could think about was Bangkok. It was so different from my life here. It just didn't work out. And I was like, I can't stay here anymore. So I came straight back to Thailand because it just was not for me.
Well, yeah, so going back to when you were a kid, you said you wanted to expand outside of America. So did it live up to the expectation?
Honestly, moving abroad was like one of the best decisions I ever made. Yes, my family wasn't on board with it because they were like, why are you doing this? But I needed to grow as a person because of who I was in America. I just did not want to be that person. Like when I look back, like it's been almost 7 years since I left. I've changed so much fundamentally and just like my perspective. And then when you go back there and you're like thinking how different you are because, you've been in this new place where you're the only person who looks like you and like all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, so how did it change you?
Oh gosh, it's a lot. Like maybe more open-minded about things. I'm very like more tolerant of things. I feel like it made me a better person, being self-sufficient, being on my own. Nobody's really helping me out here. Like it's all me. I mean, yes, you have support from your employers, support from your friends who end up becoming like your family here, but I guess, yeah, I've learned to trust myself more. I've gained so much more confidence. Like I'm not how I used to be. So I guess in those ways.
So how do you used to be?
Oh, I was very like shy, scared of everything. I did not want to try anything. I'm like, nope, I'll just stay in my little corner and not expand, even though I always like knew that, okay, you know what, I can be a better person. I can be that outgoing person who throws myself into things that I have like no idea of. Like now it's like I'm not afraid of looking like an idiot and, you know, trying new things and okay, you know, but maybe that's part of being an adult. But I think that moving abroad helped me grow up more compared to who I was. So yeah, I guess in those ways.
And did you feel that like strictly in Thailand, or did that change come about in Korea and in Spain?
It started in Korea.
Okay.
And then after that, it kind of expanded here. I became a lot happier here. Like in Korea, I went through just like periods of a little like depression, just anxiety and all that because of living there. I was 23. I moved there and I was like alone. I just remember arriving in my apartment and thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm like 7,000 miles away from, you know, everything I knew. And just to be perfectly honest, like I literally started crying that night because I was like, what did I do? Why?
I imagine, yeah.
I was alone in this apartment. I'm calling my family. I was like, why did you let me go? And they were like, we told you not to leave, but you, and then they were like, well, you're there, you have to make the most of it. You're in a new country and all that other stuff. So Korea is where it started. And then Thailand obviously like is where it just the growth continues.
So with your family, they didn't support you at first. Have they come around? Have they seen that transformation?
Yes and no. It's like, yes, they do see in some ways how I've changed and all that. And like my parents do see, okay, maybe this was necessary for you to become like a different person and everything. With the whole living abroad thing, it's like they weren't supportive because it's like, you know, you have that typical vision of the American dream, I guess. You know, you go to school, you get the job, everything else follows. And I was the black sheep of the family because I was like, nah, it's not, none of this is for me. I don't want to do this. I don't like my dream is not a house in the suburbs. And, you know, I think it's more of an acceptance thing now. They're kind of just like, yeah, this is how it is.
So what would you say has been the hardest part of living abroad?
As time goes on and the world's very globalized now, it's like you can get by with English quite a lot. Well, more so in Thailand and Korea, it was harder. Now, I'm not saying that you should rely on English totally. Like I'm one for at least learning the basics of the language. So language barrier, in the beginning when you move to a country, the little frustrations of like the most basic things, going to the grocery store, the bank, little things that you never thought were like difficult. But other than that, I think it's like the challenges for me have subsided a lot because I'm just used to it now. It's always the first like 3 months that are hard being in a new country. It was like that in Korea. First 3 months that I came here, once you get over that hurdle, then it's okay. But if you don't get over that hurdle, then it's like you kind of have to do some reevaluating because okay, maybe that isn't for you.
So based on that you're saying, you know, you've kind of known from a young age, you want to live abroad, you want to kind of go on that adventure. Do you feel like when you got here, like in Thailand, were those feelings of knowing you wanted something different, were they kind of validated about your perceptions of the world, of success, of happiness?
In terms of success, it's completely different now than the idea that I grew up with. Because the idea of success back then was me seeing my parents having regular 9-to-5 jobs. I mean, yeah, I have a 9-to-5 job, like regular job here, which is like, you know, how I'm able to stay here. But like my definition of success now is just seeing the world, I guess, just discovering as many places as I can, meeting as many people as I can, like expanding my circle because I value so many different opinions. And it's like, I used to not think of how I'm living my life now is successful because when people would tell me that, I'd be like, oh, MICHAELA, you're doing like so many cool things. And I was just like, it's just normal, isn't it? And now I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, it's actually not that easy to just leave America. And like, because of all like the navigating. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, you know what? This is like, I've lived in 3 countries. This is pretty successful. So that's kind of where my idea of success has changed. And like, yes, I feel like living in other countries has validated it a bit because of people that I meet here. They're like, whoa, you've done that? Because some people, you know, this is the first country they lived in, or they're only here for a work project or whatever it is. And it's just kind of like, okay, I'm just here for like business. But then you're talking to them and you're like, no, this is like actually my life here. I live here and I'm doing this. And they're like, you came all the way from that to here. So
seeing your life as a journey,
yes.
Do you believe that you're living yours to the fullest?
I am, and I think it took me a while to actually feel like this because, so when I was in fifth grade, for our yearbooks, we had to like fill out this like thing talking about how what do we want to do in the future,
Yeah.
like little fifth graders, and I was just like, that's a really big question, but whatever. And I remember saying, I'm going to leave America. I'm going to be a journalist and travel the world. Yeah, one of the journalist part did not happen. That's perfectly okay. I accepted that a long time ago, but like the traveling the world part. And that's kind of when I think to myself, I'm like, yep, my little fifth grade self would be so proud of me right now if like she saw me from the past and being like, oh, she actually did it. What?
So what would you say to someone who is inspired by your journey, the way you're living life? They want to take that first step, but they're just intimidated, they're scared. What advice would you have for them?
Don't be scared, because what's on the other side of it is so much better than your current reality. I was terrified. Like, I remember boarding the plane to Korea and I was like, what am I doing? I looked out the window and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. You just have to do it. Like, don't wait until you're ready because you're never gonna be ready. You just have to go. If I waited until I was ready, I probably would have waited another year or so. That's pretty much what I can give, because it's not as scary as you think, and life gets way more interesting after that. Just go out and see the world.